I wanted to make a prediction, and before I get started, okay, this is for entertainment and educational purposes only, all right? So we are getting ready to have our very first Mars and Pluto Square. And I went back, and the last time that we had this in Aquarius and Scorpio, which Mars is going to ingress into Scorpio right after this solar eclipse, okay? And it's going to be, ironically, at the exact same degree as the very first one, January 13th, 1979. Now, we have Saturn in Pisces this go round. So this is truly wrapping up everything from this time period, because Saturn's in Pisces. Saturn rules the collective, okay? Now, this is going to be taking place during Libra season, so things are going to start getting balanced out. But what was eerie ironic was I wanted to go back in history close to this day to get an idea of some of the things that we could look for, that we could possibly see outside of us. So I go to Wikipedia, and this happened right after that square. Well, if you've been paying attention to the news, there was a student that recently happened to as well. And if you've not heard about it, you can go look it up. I'm not going to touch any more on it because I'm trying to keep this clean so it will stay up. However, that's a little wild that that happened. So on September 22nd, the day of the fall equinox, we're going to have Mars ingress into 0 degrees of Scorpio. So we know Mars is the god of war. Pew, pew. Okay, that's Mars. And it's in its home sign of Scorpio, squaring Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. So this is going to happen on the 22nd. We could potentially feel some and see a lot of disruption, especially with this Martin energy as soon as Mars goes into Scorpio. Mars and Scorpio can be very rough, okay? So we're going to have this solar eclipse at 29 degrees of Virgo. And this is going to happen on the 21st. On the 22nd, early in the morning, we're going to have Mars ingress to 0 degrees of Scorpio. On the 22nd, too, we're going to have the Sun ingress into 0 degrees of Libra. And this is going to happen at 1420. And it's going to be opposing Neptune in Aries. Okay, there could be a lot that's brought to light as far as WAR, as far as the wounded warrior, okay? And then on 9/23 at 1451, the Sun is going to be in a grand air trine with Pluto retrograde and Uranus retrograde. So there's going to be a lot that happens. And keep in mind, Pluto is truly on the side of the collective. So this isn't something to be afraid of. It's something to just prepare for. We could have a lot of shocks. We could have a lot of... You get my drift, okay? So we had that first Mars square with Pluto in 1778. And I showed you all the history of what was going on there. We were still in the middle of the American Revolution, however, but the world was not honoring that we had developed our own independence from Great Britain during that time. So the next time that we had this Mars and Pluto square was going to be December 19th, 1780. And so what's interesting about that time period was December 20th, this WAR began, okay? And what was interesting about this, and you can find this all on Wikipedia, and it was a conflict between the Kingdom of Great Britain and the Dutch, and they had a long-standing peace agreement, and due to America being a sovereign nation, that actually brought a war in between them, okay? So, and the reason being is because the Dutch was recognizing it, but Britain was like, no, you're our ally, you're not going to do that. And it's looking a lot like what we're seeing outside of us, truly, okay? So I feel, and I'm making this prediction, this is for entertainment and education purposes only. These are only my words, my thoughts, reading astrology, looking at the history, that and we could start seeing this take place and transpire with this very first square, okay? And keep in mind, the U.S. had already fought Britain and said, hey, we're going to be a sovereign nation. We're going to create the Bill of Rights, and we're going to have our Constitution, and the people of this nation are going to be sovereign, going to have their sovereign God-given rights. And so, in looking at what's going on in the world today, and in looking at who is truly controlling the world, the nation that we're not allowed to talk about, I truly believe that we are already seeing the world start honoring the nation that they've been attacking and saying, hey, they are a sovereign nation. Hey, you all can't be doing this. Hey, this is wrong. So starting with this first Mars and Pluto square, I truly believe we're going to see even more countries go against. Okay, British was the ones ruling everything back then. So we got to look at who the modern rulers are. And I'm not even allowed to say who they are, right? We're going to see even more turn against, and we even could potentially see that great treaty with our greatest ally start falling apart. Truly. Okay, just as the Brits started losing their allies. And this was the war during that second Mars and Pluto square in Scorpio and Aquarius. And that was at 3 degrees. So we're at the beginning stages leading up to this. And this could start unraveling starting now over the next 2 years. And if that's the case, then we're going to see certain leaders of that country, people are going to start removing them. This is for entertainment and educational purposes only. These are just my thoughts and my opinions based on history, based on the astrology. So don't come at me. All right. I love you guys. Drop a comment below. Let me know what you think. I know I had to talk in a little bit of code in order to get it all out there. However, let me know. I love you guys. Bye.